Hi there, and welcome to the energy update for the 1st of March until the 7th of March, the first week of March 2026. I'm coming to you from Melbourne, so all times are in Melbourne, Australia time. We have got an eclipse, we've got Mars entering Pisces, we've got Venus entering Aries, and we have a fucking weird Mercury Cazimi in retrograde in Pisces at a Cancer degree on the 7th. So, a big week ahead. Let's get into it. My name is Analia. I am the Explicit Empress, and I will be your translator to the energetic and astrological fuckery of the first week of March. Okay, let's get into it. So, March 1, 12:24 a.m. I love when we start off with magic numbers like that. This biquintile to the node. Okay, so the moon's going to be in Leo, having gone void at the end of the month. Okay, so with this void moon, it's then moved into Leo. Now we are at 2 degrees, which is a Taurus degree. Now, the node in the sky is at 8 degrees of Pisces, which is a transformation degree. It is a Scorpio degree. So, this one, biquintile, is saying let go. There is an idea that needs to be let go of in order for you to move forward. Okay, so both of these ones are saying it. So, first, we're saying, hey, we need to let go of an outdated concept about how you express yourself, how you feel your emotions, and how you think they affect your worth. Probably a bit of a perfectionist tendency in there, and how part of that is really stopping you from being able to see the joy and excitement of where we're moving forward to. And then the biquintile between the sun and the moon, the sun being at 10 degrees, which is a Capricorn degree, and the moon being at 4 degrees, which is a Cancer degree. So this is mum dad situation, isn't it? This is how the family space affected us. And it's really telling us that we have to now take responsibility for the way in which we see the world, for the way in which, we see it creatively, or we see it, maybe in a victim mentality, or maybe we see it in an idealized way, and we need to now take responsibility for that. Okay. But having said that, to take responsibility for it, we need to let go of this outdated idea. Moon, 4 degrees of Leo, the family emotional space around how we express ourselves, right? There's an idea in there that needs to be let go of. Then the opposition to Pluto, this one will be rough, 3:03 a.m. Other parts of the world, though, we will not be asleep. So that'll be an interesting thing for us to wake up to. Now, an opposition is a tug of war situation. It is saying something needs to move, and I'm going to keep pulling on this until it does. So something needs to grow. We're dealing with 4 degrees, Cancer degree, right? Security degree, related to the mother, related to the family space. And so this one is really asking you to have a look at the parts of you that are actually quite powerful in its creative expression, that your ideas that are actually quite powerful that you thought were too weird, that you packed up. And the moon's kind of going, no, let's have a look there. Let's bring some of those out. Let's grow past this. Now, the sesquiquadrant at 724, likely to show up in relationship with somebody else, and is kind of saying that now, right? So Mercury, 22 degrees of Pisces, retrograding. Okay, retrograding. And, it's saying here that it's now time to take responsibility for this information that we get from relationship dynamics. And again, if we go back to the first aspect, is it the way that you're acting like a victim in a relationship? Is it the way that you're acting because of a trauma program? Is it the way that your father made you feel you were supposed to act in relationship, right? Like, where are your relationship values? And we need to be checking in and questioning now, are they idealized? Do I not say what I need to say because I'm worried about not being seen as perfect? Right? Am I not speaking up because I need to be within these certain boundaries of an outdated value system of who I am? Right? So it could be a bit hazy because Mercury is in retrograde until the 21st of March. So we might not get full answers on it. It might be a vibe, it might be an intuitive feeling. Okay. 8:49, trying to Lilith, and this is a bit fun. I think this is going to be really good for a lot of relationship dynamics. I think it's a very confident kind of energy. I think it's a very fun kind of energy. I think it's really about being able to confidently show the parts of us that we've rejected in past relationships, right? Lilith in Sag is a bit of a feral, a bit of a wild woman, right? And she really wants us to be ourselves, and she keep yelling at us until we listen. The moon in Leo is a bit of a fun moon. It's a bit of a go out there, have a good time kind of moon. So this could be a really nice aspect for relationship dynamics, for fun relationships, for maybe taking a little trip. Very nice, fun energy for that. Okay. Now that sesquiquadrate to Venus, that's going to show us as well where there is like some kind of pattern, right? Like when we get triggered, either because we've been a bit strange in relationship, or we think that someone's seeing us as a bit strange, or we get triggered into the victim mentality, or we get triggered into idealizing something. And that's where we want to really start to understand that being authentic and transforming all things around us to align with our authenticity makes a lot more sense, right? So this trigger, what it's trying to show you is where you do the same thing over and over again, right? Maybe it's when your confidence is triggered. Maybe it's when something needs to change within how you show up. Okay. And then you get triggered, and then we're not showing up as ourselves because, oh my gosh, what if someone doesn't like it? Okay. So we're sort of seeing patterns within this day. Then we get these adjustment aspects, right? All the fucking way down, boom, 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 all the way down for the rest of the day. Okay. Quincunx to the node, right? Some kind of adjustment needs to be made in where we're going, in how we're seeing the lessons we're moving towards now that we're sort of trying to look at it through this point of confidence. Because the moon in Leo at 9 degrees at this 1204, that's really telling you that there is some kind of value system that you hold, that you have, some sort of rule that you have for yourself around how much of that confidence you want to show other people or you allow to show other people. And this is really saying, like, let's look back through the last 7 to 8 years, because within that space, you're going to see whether these values worked out or didn't. There is information there, says Uranus. Now, we are going to have to then make some adjustments about the way we take responsibility for our emotions and the way that we maybe don't speak up about them because we think it makes us look a bit less than the character we've got in mind that we want people to see. Okay. Now, that semi-sextile to Jupiter is saying keep an open mind. Okay. Because here we go, by quintile to Mercury, some of the information that you have, some of the, maybe in a little conversation, maybe in a little, maybe you've read something, right? But this is 15 degrees, a Gemini degree. So there is a part of it that is information based, whether it be through conversation or ideas in your head, right? There is an information to it. So this is saying that there are some emotions attached to your confidence and or ego that you now have information about. And with that information, you need to let go of an idea that you thought was truth because of some kind of trauma. And then we're going to see in this sesquiquadrate at 1103 where this kind of, whatever the rule is, ego or confidence, in relation to the emotions that come with ego or confidence, how that is connected to your mother energy, your home life growing up, and why we need to look at that trigger so that we're not taking it with us on this Neptune cycle, because Neptune now at 1 degree of Aries, the Aries degree of Aries. Neptune saying, I am, and I'm starting a new journey. Okay, so that's the 1st of March. Let's see. Let's move on. 2nd of March, what have you got for us? Another fucking sesquiquadrate, of course, because Saturn and Neptune are moving together for a little bit. So this one is that same kind of energy that we were looking at, where we're looking at where something gets triggered and we do something compulsive or obsessive or repetitive. This time it wants you to look at where that needs to change an inner value in order for it to not happen again. And that biquintile at 228 is saying that this has come from where you've been overly critical about how you've shown up, or someone has criticized you about how you've shown up, or you've been overly critical to somebody else in a relationship. And the idea that kind of came from, the space that came from, the way that you sort of validated that criticism was necessary, that is from a past relationship dynamic that affected your worth in a traumatic way, that we are being asked to integrate and understand the wisdom for. Okay. And we have been dealing with a lot of this Pisces energy closing stuff out. So Venus then says to this semi-sextile to Chiron, hey, Chiron now at 24 degrees of Aries, thank fuck. That's a whole video on its own. Ah, the Pisces degree. Okay, the Pisces degree, the integration, finally, the understanding, the higher wisdom from the last 7 to 8 years of Chiron in Aries telling you how little space you're allowed to take up. So this is where we are trying to integrate not only the lessons and information and healing that we have got from relationship dynamics that we've had in this life, but also we want to be understanding the last 7 to 8 years of dealing with the father wound, of dealing with where we've kind of got these ideas of how much space we're allowed to take up being who we are, right? Being our who we are, and how we've questioned our identity because of that, right? So then this adjustment needs to be made in our truth, right? So in your inner truth, and how your mind works within your truth, but this is intuitive because Mercury is in Pisces, right? So we're making adjustments to the truth that we hold about ourselves. Then we get this really nice harmonious aspect between the moon and Chiron, really working in harmony, helping us see confidently, like maybe you can take up a bit more space with your identity and who you are. All right. And that will then need to have some adjustments in relationships, of course, 203. And then a biquintal saying, like, okay, well, now we know who the fuck we are confidently. We are letting go of all of these outdated ideas about how much space we allow ourselves to take up when we express who we are. And we're going to put some boundaries and rules around that Saturn. Okay. Now, 7:36 p.m., Moon squares Uranus at 27 degrees. Okay, this will be rough if you are a fixed sign, so Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius. This ending evening component could be quite rough. All right. So the square to Uranus is where your information from the past is sort of like the last 7 to 8 years now is sort of coming up. And this could be a bit of a battle of wills, right? The old way, the new way, right? I am the sun, Leo and Taurus. I deserve the unconditional love. So this could really be two people wanting something, one potentially acting in ego, one potentially acting a little bit immature, a bit of chaos in the emotional space. Okay. Now, the opposition to Mars tells me that that square to Uranus, how you respond to that then gets addressed, okay? Because the opposition to Mars at 29 degrees, crisis degree. Okay, so big energy on that Leo, right? On the ego, but also on the perfectionism of Leo, okay? And the emotions attached to that. And Leo and emotions already having a hard time. Mars, war, okay? Mars, war energy, fire energy, motivation, repressed rage. 29 degrees, crisis degree. Aquarius, I'm a god looking at everything from the outside. This is going to be a big ego energy for a lot of people, okay? Because again, an opposition is a tug of war. The moon in Leo thinks that it is in a crisis and that is very important. And Mars in Aquarius thinks that it is in a crisis and that is very important. And they are pulling at each other. They are fighting for dominance, right? The moon in Leo wants to have its emotions in a way that people will find pleasing. Mars in Aquarius does not give a fuck. Doesn't give a fuck what you think of its emotions, right? Doesn't give a fuck at what you think of how it's reacting to this current crisis of rebellion. All right. And so these are in opposition, pulling at each other. And what they are trying to say is actually there's benefits in both, and let's find a middle point. Okay. And then the moon will go void with that moon opposing Mars energy. Okay. 1127. It's only going to be void for a little bit of time. And then we get a semi-square to Jupiter with a moon in Virgo, okay, which is now kind of saying with a moon in Virgo, that's when we sort of feel ready to heal in the physical, right? Or to build a new habit, or to, do the list of to-do things that we want to get done. And so with this 0-degree moon in Virgo making a semi-square, it's really saying, okay, so sorry for this irritating situation that just showed up, but you need to let go of an idea so we can move forward. It's probably a self-criticism idea because the moon is in Virgo, right? And that goes on either way, right? Like if the square to Uranus and the opposition to Mars, right? if that energy had you in a fight, it doesn't matter which party you're in, right? Because either way, we get to the other side and we see that there is some kind of idea that we need to let go of in self-criticism or in the criticism of others, which generally is just self-criticism projected out, okay? So it's a bit of an annoying day, the second, which would you expect anything less with the fucking eclipse and like less than 24 hours away? No, you wouldn't, okay? No, you wouldn't. So let's see. Let's go to this fucking day, okay? March 3rd. What have you got for us? A fucking eclipse. All right. So that's how we end the day. So let's go through how we're starting the day, okay? Because, of course, Mars is also going to move to Pisces. Let me see if I can find you a time because it's not on the current notes I've gotten in front of me. 1:15 a.m. Perfect. So the first thing that happens is Mars moves to Pisces. Now, Mars in Pisces, not great. Okay, not great. Mars wants to take action. Yeah, Mars wants to take action. Plus, the last thing that it did was it had that 29-degree meetup, didn't it? Right, with the fucking Leo moon. So it's in this big moment of like, like it's ready to fucking fight, and then it moves into Pisces. Now, Mars in Pisces, it's a bit soft, right? Mars is about motivation and it's about repressed anger and it's about like doing things, war energy, right? It rules over like Mars, war, okay? When it moves into Pisces, Pisces is deep, dark bottom of the ocean. Mate, you're not burning shit, right? Hey, you got a lot of fire down there, right? So Mars and Pisces, not great friends because it means that how we motivate ourselves and how we deal with all of those big Mars masculine energy things has to be more to do with intuition, emotions, um, you know, going with the flow, which is not very Mars, okay? So there is already a bit of a discomfort. Aries people, you're going to feel that. That's going to feel weird, right? Mars in Aries for Aries people, Mars in a Pisces for Aries people, it's going to feel a bit weird, okay? You're going to feel a bit weird for the time that that's happening because, I mean, you've already got Neptune and Saturn in Aries, which is bringing a bit of weird, but when your ruling planet, which is the planet of fire, goes to the deep, dark bottom of the ocean water, it's going to be a bit weird, okay? So Mars will enter Pisces at 1:15 a.m. That is Melbourne time, okay? And then we get this, right? So we get the quincunx or the in conjunction with Neptune and Saturn. And this is where like Virgo is writing a fucking list, my friends, okay? What are you building with this new 15-year cycle? Where are you concentrating that for the next 3 years? And what is on the list? And how are you getting it done? Are you being discerning about your choices? Okay, this is very interesting overnight night space, okay, because Mars moves to Pisces, we get a whole other level of like the delusion, okay? We're not going to feel like getting up in the morning, I can tell you that right now. And then we get this Neptune Saturn quincunx energy asking for all of these fucking adjustments, right? Adjustments in the list, write the list. What are the adjustments, right? All of that stuff. Then Mars makes this sesquil quadrant with Jupiter straight up, right? 7:21 a.m. So this is where something from the family space gets triggered in regards to, your nurturing, and then you have to act from that space, right? But that's saying that there is something repetitive that you do, something compulsive, something obsessive, and this time you have to make a decision. And guess where you're making that from? Intuitively. You are making your decision intuitively. Lots of logical people aren't going to like that. Okay, so then we see this quincunx to Pluto, 4 degrees. This is about where we really want to understand the family space, the nurturing requirements, the overgiving, right? The service related nurturing requirements where we feel like it's our job to give service to other people. And we're going to have to make some adjustments into that. Maybe the habits also need to have some adjustments made in order to fit who we are now, right? Because Pluto at 4 degrees of Aquarius, it's talking about the things that we put into the shadow because our family space found them weird and strange, okay? So then we get the square to Lilith and an opposition to the node. So March 3rd is a Tuesday, so you're at work, good luck. The moon at 8 degrees of Virgo is transformational. That's a Scorpio degree. And Lilith is now at 8 degrees of Sag. Okay. So, I mean, There's a bit of spicy energy to that, being it's Virgo and Sag and Lilith, okay? And that 8 degrees is Scorpio, right? So these next two, there's a little bit of spice on those. There's a little bit of spice on them. And so it could be finding out some spicy information, just saying. Okay, so the square to Lilith, what it really wants is it wants you to stop rejecting your own fucking truth, stop rejecting where it is that you like evolve a thought process and then you need to change who you are, right? Because 8-degree Virgo moon is like trying to transform something about the details of the situation, the details of your emotions, the details of your physical life, right? It's trying to transform something. And Lilith is here to kind of say, well, you know what? If you didn't reject this part of you, it would be easier. And then we get the opposition to the node, because then it's sort of saying, well, if you wrote the list and it was aligned with who you were, then you wouldn't have these like apprehensive energies about going towards something that's completely different. And that it's okay for that to be not what you thought it was supposed to be. Okay. Because we're going for evolution here. We're not going for following the blueprint, right? So 352, sesqui quadrant to Chiron. This is where we're looking at the details of the inner value system. And we're seeing how, oh, fuck, when that gets triggered, when my values get triggered, or when my values around how much service I am to other people get triggered, I'm going into some kind of repetitive, compulsive, obsessive pattern, and I need to make a decision moving past that thing in the childhood wound, understanding how that is the fucking puppet master, right? And then the biquintile, you best be taking responsibility for the details of that moon in Virgo at 10 degrees, because you need to let go of an idea that you've had that keeps hiding this thing in the underworld, Pluto 4 degrees for Aquarius. Then it's the eclipse, okay? The sun opposing the moon at 12 degrees, the Pisces degree. And what a wild time, okay? So, one of the things that this moon is bringing up is where something that made you feel powerless as a child, right? Whether it be trauma, whether it be speaking, right? Whatever it is that made you feel powerless as a child that has caused some kind of trauma, emotional response reaction that likely has a say on your mentality, how you communicate, and how you feel about where you're going in the future, right? Because the sun and the north node will be not directly conjunct, but they are conjunct during the eclipse. The nodes are at 8 degrees and the sun and the moon will be at 12 degrees. That's 3. Okay, 3 degrees. That is a conjunction. So this thing that made you feel powerless to kind of communicate, to kind of made you a bit more fearful of going into this space, learning new things in life, right? That's coming from these emotions, these programs that we use to criticize ourselves, right? That's another. So we were made to feel powerless about it as a child. We sort of put it into our rule system, and then that's just kind of who we are now, right? And this eclipse is questioning that, and it's asking you to look back to March last year and to look at some of the ideas and values and things that were coming into play around in March. Okay, March was huge, and it's asking you to also look in August to September, August 22nd until September 22nd, 2025. What went down then? What went down then? That is also part of this story. Now, this is going to involve friendships. This is going to involve relationships. This is going to involve the transformation of all of those things, because we are not rejecting so many things about ourselves anymore, right? We're not rejecting our primal feminine energy. We're allowing the wild woman to show up, to be part of who we are, to come and walk with us in the world. We're also allowing the primal masculine energy to transform in the way that we communicate. We're not going to be hiding things. We're not going to be sneaking around. We're not going to be holding back for the sake of manipulation. Okay. So we will have the sun and Mercury and the North Node in the 5th house. We will have the moon and the South Node in the 11th house. Okay. So emotions and how we critique ourselves and all of the details of the comfort zone of the past, right there with the feel. So we are feeling them. The moon at 12 degrees is a Pisces degree. So we are feeling the way in which we have criticized ourselves in the past. And we're seeing how that relates to the groups and teams of people that we are currently around. Okay. because our social reputation is getting a little bit of a push in this as well. We're really being shown how our social reputation, when it gets triggered in one way or another because of these woundings and this over criticism, how we go into a pattern of like doing the same thing over and over again, beating your fucking head up against a wall. Okay. And that's what we're trying to stop, this repetitive pattern, because we are in a new cycle. Now, there is a trine happening with the sun and the moon are both going to be trining Jupiter. So Jupiter is helping us understand the size of family, the size of ancestry and generational programming, right? It's allowing us to expand the idea of where we've gotten all of this information about nurturing, and it's allowing us to see where the values we created from childhood, from the mother lines, how those values impact us today and make us sort of regret some of the things that we do with groups of people and friends. Also, maybe sort of regret the friends that we have, to be fair. Now, the square that's being made is being made to Lilith in the first house and Priapus in the seventh house, which really is telling me that what this eclipse is trying to do is it's trying to have your outward persona, your experience of your everyday life and how people see you, your reputation, right? It wants it to be more honest. It wants it to be more safe for you in that space because, you know, if we are showing up as our truth, everything else becomes a lot easier. We don't have to remember what mask we're wearing in what relationship. We don't have to remember who we need to be. And so that's part of what this energy is trying to do. It's trying to align who we show up as in the world with our values. And to do that, it needs to change the way in which we've seen the past so that we can see how those situations have affected our value system. And we have to see that from a different perspective. So these eclipses could really have some friendships breaking down. It could really have some people like stepping out and surprising you with who they fucking truly are, good and bad. It could have you really finding your sexual fucking groove in a relationship dynamic where you've previously felt ashamed or scared. It can really have you finding out some fucking cheating bullshit in relationships, okay? If that was something that you were questioning around August, September last year or March last year, it is very likely that the truth of those situations, okay, are likely to come up around this eclipse, right? Especially with Mars in Pisces, okay, because we've got some motivation coming in then as well. All right. That's going to be a big day, okay? That's going to be a big day. Let's move on. March 4th, what have you got for us? Not a lot, thank fuck. We are in recovery, all right? And because that eclipse happens late at night, we are still very much in that energy in the overnight space. The moon sextiling Jupiter, really helping us to explore some of those ideas of the family space and how it affects our values, helping us really deeply look at the details. Be careful you're not being overly critical of yourself or others in regards to letting go of an idea that the Chiron wound is now healing from, okay? Then sesquiquadrate to Pluto. So when the give and take balance is off in relation to service or in relation to work and home, right? That triggers something from our childhood as well that we need to look at. Then an opposition to Mercury at 20 degrees, Mercury still retrograde, okay? So still retrograding Mercury says, okay, let's transform something here. We need to look at something here. We need to burn something to the ground, right? Death and rebirth. Let's look at the death and rebirth of regaining some kind of balance system between the material and the spiritual, between the service and surrender, between the me and the you. Let's look at transforming that, okay? And then 1226, a sextile to Neptune, Mars now at 1 degree of Pisces, meeting up and sort of like checking in. How are we going to intuitively be moving during this Neptune in Aries 15 years? How am I going to intuitively be moving? I'm going to stay open-minded, okay? Then 713, quincunx, 11 p.m., quintile. So that quincunx is actually quite healing. That is a Pisces degree. So we are really seeing how this integrated wisdom from overcoming some of these wound placements, we can now see how they're playing out in our physical life. We can see them, right? That eclipse dropped something down into reality. And so we can see them playing out. And so now we are inputting all of these little adjustments because the father wound, the Chiron wound, has now shown us something, right? I think I cut out, but I think I'm back. I think I'm back. Okay. So where was I? Then the 11 o'clock quintile to Lilith is helping us truly understand where some of our stability, and that could be with money for some people, depending on where this sits in your chart, but how you get shit done in your everyday life, your money, your routine, right? Where that actually, there is a secret little gift, there is a secret little talent, right? That the part of you that you've rejected, the wild woman, there is a little talent or a little gift or something within that space. And in the transformation of that space, we can go through the habits, we can heal ourselves, we can heal the money, right? We can be more stable. All right. So nice little day. Nice little day. March 5th. What have you got? Oh, Jesus. What have you got for us? Fuck me. Okay. Big day. Big day, my friends. Okay. 12:23 a.m. semi-square to Pluto, right? Like Mercury at 19 degrees now. So we're looking at the balance, the give and take, right? Of the intuitive mentality. Okay. And we're sort of saying like there's an outdated idea about what you think that balance needs to be, right? And you don't know what it is because you packed it away in your shadow space, because when you reacted to it in a different part of, in an earlier part of your life, you didn't get a good response. So you put it in the shadow, you didn't want to look at it, and now we're sort of going, hey, well, you need to let go of that idea, let it go, right? And you might not be completely able to because Mercury is retrograde. We've got to wait till the 21st, sorry. So then we look at this quintile to Jupiter, right? So now we're using this information that we've gotten from the eclipse, and we're sort of looking at this Jupiter space, and we're like, hang on a minute, like there's something in here. Like I actually like this way that I nurture myself. I like this piece of information about maybe like that person in my family, or I don't like, right? So we're looking into the things that we've packed away because of how our family reacted to them, and we're sort of seeing that there are things in there that are actually powerful, right? Then the opposition to Venus, that could cause a bit of issues with relationship dynamics, because some of that information is now about to show up because now I have these values, right? Now that opposition to Venus could also start bringing up like where we've idealized things, or where we've like escape mentality things, and we haven't looked at relationships properly, and now we're going to be able to, okay? Because of course the eclipse grounded something. Then the trine to Uranus, which like whether we know it or not, we've got information from the last 7 to 8 years that are present. The filing cabinet drawer is open, and we are using that to look at all of this stuff, right? The Venus sextile Uranus. What a fucking wild time that'll be. So this is going to be, just Venus in Pisces is just, it wants to be in love and imagination, but it's very idealizing, and it's very, like, it can be like using relationships to escape. So the sextile is really asking us to like make a conscious effort to explore some of the things from the last 7 to 8 years with these new mentalities in mind, right? Because it's like you maybe didn't know that you were idealizing a relationship. And so then when you go through that trauma energy around it, you wouldn't really be seeing it from the right perspective, right? So it's really asking to just be, and it's like a positive aspect, right? So it's it is sort of inviting chaos into that space, okay? And when we get that aspect, Venus will be in the third house, okay? So I'm telling you, that is definitely talking about something that needs to be communicated, right? Something that needs to be communicated, and like it could be harmonious to the relationship, but it's like something that has to be communicated because of the way that you sort of critique yourself, right? So you have a value that you got from your mum, from like the way you experienced your mum, watching your mum, or actually experiencing her critiquing you. But there is a value system that you've gotten that stops you from communicating, right? And so this is likely to be throwing you into a little bit of chaos and forcing some kind of communication that needs to happen, all right? So it could be a weird vibe waking up, because when you get up, depending on what time you get up, but the moon goes void with that trine to Uranus. So then it is void as we move through that Venus sextile Uranus. So don't like wake up at 3:40 a.m. and call your partner and break up with them. Just wait until the moon is not void anymore, okay? Because there will be a piece of information that you don't have. All right. So then 8:07, the moon has moved into Libra and it opposes Neptune. So again, this is another day for the cardinals, like Libra, Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, big energies for you. The moon opposing Neptune is like, now we need to, so Neptune is like, I am, right? And the moon is like 1 degree, so Aries, I am, and Libra, you are, right? So that moon is saying, where is this balance, right? You're building something new now with Neptune, right? And you're choosing to do it from me. But now the moon in Libra says, okay, but we also need to think about the other part of this. And so this is where we might see what we have been dreaming about putting into reality doesn't really align with the sort of relationships we have in our life, and we might need to make some adjustments, and here they are. The moon making adjustments to Mars, how we're taking action, how we're moving forward in this like new space, right? And the Pisces component is allowing us to not lock into anything, right? It's keeping our movements fluid, but it is still saying we need an adjustment here. Then we get a 2-degree opposition to Saturn. Now, that is about your worth or about your money. Not a great day to be proposing new ideas when it comes to business. Okay, I don't like that at all, especially the Venus sextile Uranus. There's like chaos written all over new business deals. Be careful. And it's a Mercury retrograde. Be fucking careful. If you are signing any kind of business related contract, especially if it has to do with partnerships, okay, and that goes for marriages as well. If you are signing anything during this time until like the fucking end of April, you triple check everything. Triple check everything. Okay, this is not the energy. This is not the day. Okay, this is not the day. All right, thank God it's the fucking 5th of March is a Thursday, so there shouldn't be a lot of people signing up to get married at least. So the opposition to Saturn, right? It's about worth, it's about money, it's about Taurus related, how you're doing your work. It is an argument between what I want and what they want, what the collective wants and what you want, where the balance needs to sit and how we need boundaries. Okay. This is going to be about the people pleasing meets the fucking I want this. Okay. So then we get a trine to Pluto, 4 degrees, actually quite nice, like looking at this kind of in a more balanced way about how relationships have like kept stuff in your shadow space working really nicely. Then the biquintile comes. It says let go of an idea. If you want to transform how you deal with people in relationships, you need to let go of this outdated bullshit idea you've got around your worth when it comes to like things like how hard you work, sex, how you use your anger, all of these sorts of things, right? Whatever you fucking got there, you need to, there's ideas there that need to be let go of in order to transform how you deal with relationships. And then at 9:33 p.m., the moon sextiles Lilith. I like this. This is nice. This is spicy. So 8 degrees of Libra, transformation, relationships, how we relate to other people, balance, those sorts of things, Venus qualities, beautiful things. Lilith, wild woman, making some kind of fucking Scorpio transformation. Okay, this is spicy as shit. Okay, make a conscious effort to truly understand what the wild woman wants, right? What your primal feminine energy wants. Make a conscious effort to understand what that is, and you'll be able to transform relationships to better suit who you are. Okay, Mars semi-sextile Saturn, because of course with Mars in Pisces, we are moving, going with the flow. And when we had the opposition to Saturn, okay, that was at 2 degrees as well. So we sort of had the moon meet up at Saturn, and it's like having a little kind of tug of war between me and you, and values and boundaries. And now Mars is coming in, so we're moving forward, but we're doing so with these values in mind, right? And the semi-sextile says that like if you want to input the correct values that align with you in this new Saturn cycle of 3 years, we are going to have to keep an open mind to what that looks like because we don't quite know yet. Right? Great reminder for the Mercury retrograde too, by the way. Then the moon makes some adjustments to the node. Okay. So this is where we're sort of transforming ideas around what sort of relationships we want for the future, what sort of partnerships, what sort of how we're relating to people in the future is likely to kind of be shifting and having some adjustments made in that space. Okay. Let's move on. March 6th, what have you got for us? Oh, Sun trine Jupiter. Good luck sleeping past 4:13 a.m., my friends. Okay, that's big energy. That's really going to be, if you're asleep, the dreams will be fucking wild because that energy is like, I mean, it's asking you to look at the ways in which you have had your whole entire being like compressed, how you haven't known how much space to take up, how you've got all of this information that's kind of, some of it's from trauma, some of it's from mum, some of it's from the way you experience. And so this harmonious aspect is like kind of bundling all of that shit together. It's like, here we go in a nice little information package for you. Okay. And then 6:01 a.m., the sesquil quadrant to Uranus, in order to like integrate and understand the higher wisdom that we've been getting about how we relate to people, we need to look back at how many times the people pleaser got triggered over the last 7 to 8 years and what triggered it, and how that could be related to this nice little trauma package that we got with the sun trining Jupiter. Okay. So then we get the biquintile to the node because we need to let go of a stubborn idea that we have around relationships. And then we get a square to Jupiter, which is like, well, okay, I've got this fucking information that the sun had, right? Made a nice trine, didn't it? But now the moon, because it's got its emotions here and it's worried about balance, it's worried about like the information it's collected from relationships. And now it's kind of having a little fight with that space because it's like, oh, fuck, it's because of this. It's because of the way that I grew up. It's because of that trauma that I experienced that I am like this, right? That I feel this way, that I'm unstable, that I'm too stubborn, right? Right? Then the quincunx to the moon, right? So now we're making adjustments in this space. We're using the information that that sun found out, and we're now making these adjustments because after that square, that's why we need these adjustments. That square sort of shows us where the adjustments need to be made. And then we have to then make these adjustments in the mind. And we're dealing with 18 degrees of a Mercury Pisces retrograde. So that could be a bit fucking rough. So watch out for being overly critical while you make these adjustments. It's okay to have made these mistakes in the past. It's okay. It's okay. All right. You don't need to inner criticize yourself or project that out onto anyone else. We just need to make the adjustments that need to be made. Okay. So maybe a habit needs to shift. Maybe some kind of new action needs to take place on a daily basis so that we can remember whatever that is for you. Because the sun says, hey, babes, hey, hey, hey. All that fucking information that Uranus gave you over the last 7 to 8 years, mate, right? All of that, that was like, look at it because there was a gift in there for you. And if you want to really understand how you got yourself into this position, I want to show you through this chaos, the information where I was trying to show it to you, right? And then the moon comes in 21 degrees, Sag degree, looking for truth in the emotions around relationships and having to let go of the ideas that came out of the information from the Uranus chaos over the last 8 years, right? Listen to that again if you need to hear it again. Then the sun also comes in and says the same thing, right? Okay, all of this information I've got and all of this truth that you now have, we're going to let go of some ideas here because that's how we move forward. Okay, then we move on. March 7. What have you got for us? A Mercury Kazemi. A Mercury Kazemi. When's she happening? Look at that, 10:01 p.m. All right. She's a retrograde, Kazemi. So your ex is coming back for some of you, definitely. All right. So we start this day off 2:24 a.m. semi-square to Lilith. The moon's at the Aquarius degree. So we are seeing the relationship dynamics from a slightly different point of view. So we will be able to semi-square, let go of an outdated, outworn idea that has kept your wild woman in the dark. Okay. That's kind of the transformation of the wild woman and seeing how we can bring her into the relationship dynamics and be authentic about it. All right. The biquintile, we are letting go of a fucking idea that you have held around some kind of perfection that you think you need to have when communicating in relationship dynamics, and how, oh, don't see me as the weirdo. All of the ideas around that need to be let the fuck go of, because anyone that you are supposed to be in a relationship dynamic with should love the weirdo. Okay. So sesquiquadrate, quadrant, that's going to show right there where when that weirdo gets triggered in the relationship dynamic and we may be feeling a little bit shameful about it, how that impacts our future, right? So what is that pattern? That is what we're going to get to see. Hopefully you'll wake up knowing what it is. All right. Then 359, the opposition to Chiron. So this is where the integrated information from the moon at the Pisces degree of Libra is going to come in, have a little chat with Chiron and be like, oh, fuck yeah, okay, let's evolve that thing, because that is some very outdated stuff from my childhood and my dad. Thank you so much. Then we get the adjustment aspects, so we can lock all this into a new cycle. Firstly, we're adjusting based on what we learned from the last, cycle. Oh, did we forget Venus moves to Aries as well? I did forget that. Or did I say that on yesterday's one? Anyway, Venus moved to Aries on the 6th of March, if I had forgotten to tell you. So here she is, Venus in Aries. Okay, 0 degrees Venus in Aries, moon at 0 degrees of Scorpio. So we is crash and burn. We are death and rebirth. And this new relationship cycle that we are now entering, because when all of these fucking planets move out of Pisces into Aries, they are joining the new cycle. So relationships are now joining the new cycle. So if you haven't, if you've left somebody behind, if you've had conversations come up, this is where we start wanting to enforce this stuff, okay? So the quincunx to Uranus, the quincunx to Venus, right? 0 fucking degrees. Let's make some adjustments, okay? Because the moon says we're in a new cycle. Transformation. We're doing transformation. We're transforming something about the relationship dynamic. We're also Scorpio energy, reproductive energy, guilt, shame, distrust, fucking cheating bullshit, right? So the emotions related to those sorts of things are adjusting how you are now beginning this new Aries moment, okay? This new cycle. How are you going on relationships? Where are you putting yourself first, and how the fuck are you doing that, and why weren't you doing it in the past? Okay, then Neptune comes in and is like, okay, so what are we doing here? Where are we transforming this? How are we taking this forward? The same kind of questions. And then the sun makes a sesquiquadrate to the moon, and we are just checking in here. Is there any mother wound trauma shit that the sun needs to light up? Okay, that sends you back on some kind of trauma pattern, right? Or deceitful bullshit, or manipulation gets triggered. Why? Well, sesquiquadrate to Mercury will probably show you, won't it? It'll probably show you that there is something around being seen as stable, being seen as perfect, being seen as in a certain way worthy of long-term emotionally connected relationships, right? Now, have you been idealizing what that actually means? Is that where this pattern gets triggered? Is that where adjustments need to be made? Okay. Have we been not speaking up because we're too worried about saying the wrong words and not being liked and not being seen as pretty, or not being seen as beautiful, or not being seen as feminine, or not being seen as masculine? Okay. All of these things are up for question. Okay. Especially Mercury retrograding. So we are questioning all of these things. 7:53 p.m. adjustments now with the Saturn cycle and your worth, and how you are seeing your worth, and how you are locking into that. What are you writing into the contract of worth with Saturn? Okay, for the next 3 years, what are you writing in? How are you going to put yourself first? How are you going to possess your own energy? How are you going to build long-term wealth? How might you need to be looking at sharing resources, right? Adjustments need to be made. And then the Cazimi, very interestingly, at 16 degrees, a Cancer degree in relation to all of the fuckery we've been dealing with Jupiter in Cancer, opening up the mother wound, opening up all of the wounds of the dark mothers, okay? So Jupiter will go direct on the 11th. So this Cazimi is allowing our mentality to, and our, the way that our mind works, to integrate some of that energy, right? The energy of that Jupiter retrograde that we've been fucking dealing with, right? What did we discover in there? Okay. What did we discover in there? How did we understand how the ancestral and generational and mother energies affect me? And the Cazimi is asking us to really see how we have to build our own idea of security outside of that, and that the information that we got from that trauma related to the mother, how it has a part in our life because it's part of who we are, but we have to integrate it into a higher wisdom so that it doesn't control everything. And then Venus conjuncts Neptune and everything gets a bit fucking magical for a second. Okay. So Venus in Aries at 1 degree, Neptune in Aries at 1 degree in a conjunction. This is a bit confusing. All right, we are in a Mercury retrograde. We are in a super moment of the Mercury retrograde. It's almost like intuitive clarity. All right. So we get this intuitive clarity with the Mercury Cazimi. Anyone who has been working with spiritual communication with your ancestors, my Pisces 29 degree people, this will be a really interesting one for us because your 29 degree Pisces placement is still being activated by that Venus conjunct Neptune at 1 degree of Aries. Okay, they are still conjunct. So this is really good for money magic. This is really good for having clarity around the type of magic that you should be doing in order to call in these new ideas of worth, these new ideas of money. What are you building into that 15-year cycle with Neptune when it comes to your worth, when it comes to money? Okay, this is a much better time to be talking about business ideas. I still wouldn't be signing shit during a Mercury retrograde, but go with your gut. Okay, check your numbers, but go with your gut. And then 10:33, the moon trines Mars, 3 degrees. Okay, so this is going to be really good for any kind of communication that needs to happen, especially in relation to any kind of repressed rage feelings from past traumas relating to deceit, relating to betrayal, relating to sexual energy. Okay, so especially for those of you who are like born in the early time of Pluto in Scorpio, right? Like if you've got a 0 to 3 degree Scorpio Pluto, this is going to be an interesting day for you, okay? Because all of these aspects are, the moon is going to be conjunct your Pluto while it's doing all of these things, okay? So, yeah, there is like some sexual healing. I'm going to say that right straight out. There is a lot of sexual healing, a lot of sexual reproductive energy healing stuff that can kind of be happening during this energy. So just be aware of that because even though it is healing, it could be, it could bring something up. Let's get a little bit of a read energy wise on this first fucking week of March, please. A time to rest a while, she says. Number 19, balance, give and take. Okay. Libra degree also, number 19. The whole world is sleeping, and this is when some of your most sacred work is done, in dreams, in the cocoon you create. Are we in a Mercury retrograde in Pisces? Are we not already just walking through a fucking dream? In the cocoon you create, as you separate from the exterior and enter deeply into the divine universe that dwells within you, enough time has been spent out there. Now it is time to restore and regenerate. While the world of nature is arresting, you too must return to the deep for this phase of the cycle of your life. Soon you will return renewed, re-energized, and transformed. Okay, so this is really a week of internal work. Okay, the eclipse in Virgo, Mars moving into Pisces, like being in a retrograde of Mercury in Pisces, having the Cazimi, there is a big energy that is trying to integrate and understand the patterns that we create in our mind from trauma, from overcoming trauma, from understanding trauma, right? The higher wisdom component of those things. So this really is a week to journal, to listen to music, to create more than you consume, okay? That Virgo eclipse is grounding some big, big energies and some big moments from 2025. March, okay? March was the first Virgo eclipse of this whole series, right? It was also when Neptune first moved to Aries. It was also when we had a whole lot of fuckery. March was intense, okay? Then August 22nd until September 22nd is the second time period. We had a 29-degree Virgo eclipse on the 22nd of September, but it closed out a whole weird cycle of a 0-degree Virgo new moon on the 22nd of August, and then the Virgo new moon eclipse on the 22nd of September. So we are really in this week of just trying to allow space and emptiness in so many ways so that the energies can do what they need to do. Okay, that's what I've got for you. If you would like to book an appointment, I should have my March calendar open. You can do a recorded reading, you can do a video call. I do prefer video call because then we can question each other while we're going along, but I do understand that that can be difficult for some of my international clients. So just keep in mind, if you are on the other side of the world and you would like to do a video call, jump in my DMs or in my emails, because I'm happy to do it. And my sleep schedule is completely fucked anyway. So I am often up very late. Okay. So if that works for you, we can try and find a time that makes it work. Otherwise, I'll see you on the socials. And, during this Mercury retrograde, I'm going to say it one more time. Check your fucking numbers. Check your fucking messages before you send them. Check your emails before you push send. Check everything 3 times. Back up all of your fucking stuff that you would die if you lost. Okay, be careful on the roads. We are in a moment of haze. Nobody's thinking clearly, whether they believe in astrology or not. Okay,